Hello, everybody. I'd like to welcome you all for the 92nd meeting of Zoom from the Sri Lankan Literary Association, Northwest UK. Today's presenter is Professor Shihan de Silva Jayasuriya, who will talk to us on Wally Bastianz and chorus Baila, poetry, music, and song performed by past and present artists. I would like to give a few biographical details about Shihan. She has a string of qualifications, including a PhD. She's a former visiting professor of the Ritsumeikan University, Kyoto, Japan. I may not have pronounced that properly. She's also a senior research fellow in the Institute of Commonwealth Studies, University of London. She's a fellow of the Royal Asiatic Society of Great Britain and Ireland, winner of the Rama Watamul Collaborative Lectureship Award, University of Hawaii, and also an UN expert on Afro-descendants in Asia for the UN Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, Geneva. And I'm sure I'm right in saying that Shihan is recognized as an international expert on Afro-descendants in Asia. She is also the elected rapporteur and elected member of the International Scientific Committee of the UNESCO Slave Route Project. As a cultural historian, linguist, musician, ethnomusicologist, and director, producer of ethnographic films, her research explores international commerce and cultural exchange in the Indian Ocean. She has written many books, and I have listed them, and you can see the theme of Portuguese in the East, cultural history of the maritime empire coming through. This is just to show her close association and knowledge with Wally Bastianz and Shihan, which appeared in a newspaper article in Sri Lanka. And now over to you, Shihan. But before that, I'd like to ask you a few questions. I will stop screen sharing now and proceed to ask you the questions. My question was, Shihan, how did you get interested in these cultural aspects of the Portuguese occupation in Sri Lanka and Portuguese in general throughout the globe?
Yes, so I've always...
In general throughout the globe.
Yes, so I've always wanted to travel to various countries. So when I came to England, I wanted to go to Europe, and I realized that one language doesn't get me through in another European country. So I had to learn various languages, which I started to learn. And when I learned Portuguese, I realized that I already knew some of the words, at least, because they were in Sinhala. So when I went to Sri Lanka, I started looking around for a book that had word lists, at least Portuguese words in Sinhala, and I didn't find that. So I came back and went to the British Library in London and went to the curator of the Hugh Neville collection, who was Mr. Somadasa, and I wanted this book. So he said, come back next week, I'll look for this book. I don't know of it. So when I went back the next week, he said, have you published? And I thought, what's he asking? I was doing a degree in economics, and I was in the final year doing a project on central banks and monetary policy. So he says, well, if you haven't published, there is this manuscript that's 100 years old. It's in the Hugh Neville collection, a manuscript of Portuguese. Nobody has seen it. Take it and voluntarily translate it. You're not going to get paid. Translate it as a service to Sri Lanka. So I took it, not knowing that it was a Creole Portuguese. It wasn't European Standard Portuguese, which means that there are limited number of word lists or dictionaries, because Creole languages are allowed to freely move and change, unlike standard languages, which grammarians standardize. So that at that juncture, I was juggling central banks and monetary policy with Portuguese culture, because through the manuscript, I could see the interactions, like watching a film between the Sri Lankans and the Portuguese. So that manuscript completely changed my life, because I published in that area and I did a doctorate in that area in the language Sri Lanka Portuguese. So that's how I ended up becoming interested in Portuguese. Yes, and that took me to the communities that speak the language today, the Portuguese burghers and the Afro-Sri Lankans, ethnically different, but speaking the same language. So then I went into slavery because I asked, you know, why did these Africans end up in a Sri Lankan village? Who brought them? When did they come? When did their ancestors come? How did they come? So that took me to wider issues and to look for other Afro-descendants in the Indian Ocean. And yeah, so that's, I think that's...
okay. Thank you very much, Shihan. That gives us some idea of how you came into this. Other thing, of course, is that I have known you for some time, and I know that you are a very skillful pianist. Were you taught the piano as a little girl? You know, traditionally in Sri Lanka, they say girls are always taught the piano, boys sometimes the violin. Or did you get into piano later in life?
I was lucky because my elder sister was learning piano, and I wasn't even 5 when the piano teacher said, well, why don't you just come and play? So I started playing the piano, yes, at that very early age. And my mother had plays the piano and my aunt plays the piano. So piano was quite an okay thing for girls to do, I guess.
So you're from a musical family?
Yes, my father, he didn't play an instrument, but he sang. So we always used to sing when we go on trips. And my elder sister is very musical as well. Yeah, yeah.
I'm sure your father must have been a good singer, not the sort of singer when they start singing, everybody disappears. No. He obviously must have a good spirit. And of course, in your own family, your son is an accomplished singer, Johan, and Hemal also is pretty good on music, correct?
Yes, yes. My husband, Hemal, he in Royal College, actually, he played in the Eastern Orchestra. He played the tambura, and he also played the piano accordion a bit at home. And he was in both the choirs, Western and Eastern choirs in Royal. But my son is a child professional. He sang opera in the English National, opera, and also the Royal Opera House. Okay. So he played more instruments than we do because they're encouraged to play lots of instruments here. So he's a violinist, a pianist, and a trumpeter, and of course a singer.
Okay. Before we get to the talk, one last question. Would you like to share with us what kind of research that you're planning or you have in the near future? What aspects, is anything that might interest us?
Well, quite surprisingly, from 20 years ago, when I tried to publish a book on African diaspora in the Indian Ocean with Richard Pankhurst as a co-editor, I couldn't find a publisher. Nobody wanted to know the word slave. But quite surprisingly, I was recently invited by Paul Grave Macmillan to write a book on performance-oriented. So it's not going to be a book on Baila alone, but given that I know Baila, Kafrina, and the Africans' music, so it's going to be something to do with Indian Ocean and African music. It's not only going to be on music, it's going to be on dance and performance.
Okay, thank you very much. I will now start sharing screen and get back to my slides. Okay, right. So we are done that. Okay, Shihan, over to you now.
Okay. Thank you, Mahendra, for the generous introduction at the beginning and also your support with preparing all these recordings for today's lecture. And thank you all for coming to listen to my story about chorus Baila. So my talk is going to be in 3 parts. First, the evolution of chorus Baila, which we call Baila today. And the second part is on the power of Baila. And the third is a brief journey, musical journey through Baila. Next slide, please. So first of all, you're going to hear 2 Surya recordings. The first will be a recording of Udena Vikramasuriya interviewing me when I went back a few years ago. And Udena's father, Gerald Vikramasuriya, the owner of Surya, the house, who is not alive today, he was my original starting point for research on Sri Lankan Baila. And the second is going to be a song that Wally Bastianz composed called Nidahas Lankave, which is sung by Marshall Wombeck. As far as I know, there is no recording of Wally Bastianz singing it. Unfortunately, there's only one CD in Sri Lanka with Wally's songs. So shall we, Mahendra?
Okay. Just to remind people that they are quite free to adjust their own volumes to suit them. Okay. So if the sound is not loud enough, just increase your own device volume. And again, remind that please keep your mics muted. Okay.
I started looking at Wally Bastianz's life, and he was of mixed origin, mother Sinhalese from Gaul, father Dutch and Portuguese, Berger. He was a Christian, a Wesleyan Christian, a policeman playing in the police band. So he was exposed to various types of music. Kafrina, Father Baila, then Sinhala music, Western music. So his song Hai Hui Babiachi comes from the Ripas band. It's not that he copied it, but he was exposed. So I actually asked your father, General Wickramasuriya, what did Wally do? And he said Wally gave it a twist. So in a sense, yes, he took Malay songs, he sang in 5 languages the Sri Lankans could understand: Malay, Tamil, Portuguese, Sinhala, and English. And like Seppe Kichilanak, he took that song, which already the Malays sang, and he gave it that Baila, a Baila beat. But then if you look at songs like Matakayamme, which are Wally Bastianz songs, it doesn't necessarily have that beat that you expect Sesurangani, Malu 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 to have. So I think Baila primarily is a ballad, a poem set to music. And Wally was a brilliant lyricist, because through his lyrics he was educating the people, Pare, how to cross the road. He was a traffic warden. And when the Queen came to Sri Lanka, he was asked to sing a song, Baila, and he sang Divinasa Ganne Suduanisai Meloe. And then the songs that he sings, like Pia, one about the father, then about the mother, he's bringing, in my opinion, bringing back Sri Lankan values after 450 years of Western colonization, which isn't altogether a bad thing if you look at some of the good things that were left after colonization, the plantations, things we learned from the colonials. But yes, there's no way we can go back to the Middle Ages. So Wally was taking Sri Lanka forward musically through his composition, mixing the old with something new, and it really caught the pulse of the nation at that moment in history.
You want to say anything about this before I start?
Yes. This song, which means freed in Sri Lanka, which Wally composed, is the song that you're going to hear is sung by Marshall Wombeck, who was in the original Wally Bastian band, and he's changed a few lines. And also a few lines are missing. So Wally started with these words. Nidahas Lankave api du putu obage. Veera vikum per dasamahayodeo ko ape lak mavage. So for anyone who doesn't understand Sinhala, I'll translate. In Sri Lanka, we are your daughters and sons. Where are the 10 giants who performed heroic acts? So he evokes a feeling of great pride and sentimentality at the beginning. And the chorus, now chorus Baila, characteristic is that it has a chorus and verses. So the chorus says, Asanu lamaine mage du putune, ma kiena bas medine, numbala malse suanda hamanne, sirilaka mal uyane, honda lamayin wage, sitiyot ratata age, amataka nokaran, me dena ovadan, Marshall Ayage. So when Wally sang, he sang it saying, Amataka Nukaran, Medena Ovadan, Policie Mama Ge, because he was a policeman. So the words mean, the chorus means, listen, my daughters and sons, to the advice that I give you. You are all like sweet smelling flowers in the flower garden of Sri Lanka. If you behave well and live well, children, you will be an asset to the country. Don't forget the advice that I give you. Your uncle in the police, and Marshall is going to say your big brother, Marshall. So Mahendra, shall we play it? And you have to appreciate that this song was sung after 1940.
අසනු ළමයිනේ මගේ දූ පුතුනේ මා පියන බස් මෙදිලේ නුගලා මල්සේ සුවඳ හමන්නේ සිවිලක මල් උයනේ අසනු ළමයිනේ මගේ දූ පුතුනේ මා පියන බස් මෙදිලේ නුගලා මල්සේ සුවඳ හමන්නේ සිවිලක මල් උයනේ හොඳ ළමයින් වාගේ සිටියොත් රටට අගේ අමතක නොකරත් මේ දෙලෝ වදන් පාසල් අයියාගේ අමතක නොකරත් මේ දෙලෝ වදන් පාසල් අයියාගේ Taban putih dodanaga wandine mu mau piyange karubu man putih nitara karan tama guruwarayante oramerakam putih iwata dama samen ratta rakimu lataran putih anikat yang mau pia pawangimu untuk lamai wage setiap rata age amat kenoperan bedena wadan wanelai age amatkan operan bedena wadan pasal ayadi.
Thank you. So you have to appreciate the song in the context of just after independence. And the children who are about 75 to 80 years old today in Sri Lanka apparently knew this song. So why is chorus Baila unique? Why do I say it's unique? It's unique to Sri Lanka. It's made in Sri Lanka. People often get confused when they go on holiday and they hear similar rhythms in Latin America or Spain. So the poetry, the melodies and rhythms that are combined by Wally Bastianz, it's a unique blend made in Sri Lanka. And it captures our Sri Lankan identity in terms of music. And the sentiments expressed in his chorus Baila contribute to the local nature. And it reawakens our Sri Lankanness, our common Sri Lankanness. And you need to appreciate the climate in which chorus Baila evolved just after independence, after about 400 to 450 years of independence. So the word Baila is also confusing. If you Google, you'll find so many Bailas from all parts of the world. That's because there's a Latin root, and modern Portuguese, Spanish, Italian has the word Baila. But in Sri Lanka today, I think the word means more than anything song. So Vada Baila means debate song, challenge songs or competition songs. Caipirinha Baila means Caipirinha Baila, and Paraguayan Baila, and so on. You can say Papara Baila, Kava di Baila, so many types of Baila, so many types of songs. So yes, but today we're going to talk about chorus Baila, and people commonly call it Baila now. When they say Baila, they don't necessarily understand about the other Bailas that existed in the past. So chorus Baila was composed after independence in 1948 by Mervyn Ollington Bastianz, whom we call Wally Bastianz. So to think what Baila was, I had to think, separate it into the music, the song, the poetry. So what is a song? We can say a song is a poem that's set to music. So in the poetry, the lyrics are important, and therefore language has a great part. You have to understand the language. And the music has various components, the melody, the rhythm. With melody and rhythm, you have music. But harmony is a European concept, which was introduced by the Portuguese to Asia, to Sri Lanka as well. And that changed our music. So through the guitar, playing chords. In the piano, you play chords as well, when you play the bailas. So melody is given through the voice, singing, and through instruments, stringed instruments. Rhythm is by the accompaniments and percussion instruments like drums. And harmony is by playing several notes together, by playing chords. So the dance, there is no dance that any dance teacher can teach us what is Baila dance. So people just dance to Baila. It's unchoreographed, but sometimes you find that people, Baila dancers, the dancers are choreographed for a particular song, which you're going to see towards at the end. So music and song and dance, we know are interconnected because we know natum, gaum, vaum, they are connected. And in Pali, we call them Natcha, Gita, Vadita, connected art forms, inseparable. So next slide, please. Yes. So what you're going to hear is my own interpretation of Baila. So as I said, the characteristic of Baila, chorus Baila, is that it has a chorus and verses. And I see it being entangled with two Portuguese legacies of music. One is Vada Baila, challenge songs, and the other is Cafrina, which is an Afro-Portuguese type of music. But also Wally Bastianz was inspired by Western music because he was a policeman who played in the police band. And then his poetry is Sri Lankan, and he uses Sri Lankan languages, 5 Sri Lankan languages to communicate to everybody. So he sings in Sri Lanka Portuguese, Sri Lanka Malay, Sinhala, Tamil, and English. So the Baila has a very powerful ability to communicate to people. And it's diagrammatically, I tried to represent it. So it has various components, European in melodic form, Asian in its poetry, and African in its rhythmic structure. So it's a mixture, a melange of European, Asian, and African. And so the chorus Baila's input, the major inputs are Cafrina, Afro-Portuguese music, Vada Baila, another Portuguese legacy, and Western music. Also, there are Sri Lankan influences. I mean, yes, Wally's father was Dutch Portuguese and his mother was Sinhala. So to understand all this, I had to visit Wally Bastianz's house in Piyadigaman. And his house is just behind a Buddhist temple. So I understood why he sings Yamam Bando Vesak Balanda. Because he says he's a Wesleyan Christian. He is a champion Vada Baila singer. And Sumatipala Perera told me in 1948 how he challenged Sumatipala Perera, who was a supreme Vada Baila singer at the time that I started my research. And he sang just near Ananda College at a competition. Wally said, Agama Christian, Samagama Wesleyan, Mama Wally Bastianz, all Ceylon Baila champion. So he makes it openly known that he's a Christian and from a small Christian church. He wasn't a Catholic, he was a Wesleyan. So next slide, please. Yes, so how did I trace the past? So this is the method that I took. I used every resource that I could possibly find. I started looking at the life of Wally Bastianz because that is an obvious starting point and a point that people don't study the composers and musicians' lives are understudied anywhere in the world. So by interviewing his relatives, because I've never met Wally Bastianz, you know, he died before I started my research. And I looked at manuscripts like the Hugh Neville manuscript. There's another manuscript I worked in the University of Graz in Austria, which has some in Sri Lanka Portuguese songs. and print culture, like music scores left by Norbert Rodrigo and his brother, Vincent Rodrigo. And I looked at travel accounts and personal narratives, so colonial accounts or anybody else's accounts, and also frescoes and paintings found in Buddhist temples and elsewhere, which you'll see some of them later on. So basically I used history, music, literature, and language. So various disciplines to understand, to try to build the pieces of the jigsaw puzzle together. Because there is, when the Portuguese left in 1658, there is nothing tangible, no manuscripts that have been left behind. So I wouldn't know what they sang in 1658. So there are huge gaps because the Portuguese and the Dutch fought over Sri Lanka for 20 years. The Portuguese burnt some of the tombos, the records, when they left. They didn't want the Dutch to have any advantage administratively. So there's a huge missing amount of data. So you have to use all other methods, and there's so much that oral traditions can remember, and songs are distorted by the time it comes to the late 19th century. Okay, next, please. Yeah, so this is part of the Hugh Neville manuscript, a section which he called Kafrina. He has 6 songs there, and one of the songs is Koran Janita. And the Koran Janitas, we hear Saman Silva sings a bit of it, and Sudi Pereira sings a bit of it. My father used to sing Koran Janita, but there are various Koran Janitas, various versions. So this manuscript is from the East Coast that Hugh Neville collected, and it was taken down by Dutch scribes, clerks. And these Dutch burghers also knew Portuguese, but the spelling sometimes is Dutch. So you find letters that the Portuguese alphabet doesn't have, and you find double O's, like double vowels, which the Dutch has and the Portuguese doesn't have. Next slide, please. Yes, now the newspapers confuse today's African community in Puntland, who you see to the right. Their dance, their performance is called manja. Their songs are actually called manja. And people write to the newspapers saying that they dance the Kafrina. They even call their music Kafrina. And it's not, it's manja. And to the left, you see a late 19th century Van Dort painting of the Kafrina as danced. The lady with the handkerchief, the man holding castanets and dancing. It's a couple dance, it's an open dance. Yeah, with frilly skirts and kind of kabakrutu type of blouse. And this is from 1894, the paper that M S Fernando, the first person to take an interest in Portuguese music in Sri Lanka. He gave a lecture to the Royal Asiatic Society in Sri Lanka, and a paper was published after that. And this is a picture from his paper. And again, it shows it's an open couple dance. But to me, the couple looks English. So we are in the British era by that time. 1796, the Dutch were taken over by the British. Yes. These are the British in the barracks, and that's Kafrina in another context, the men having a good time in the barracks. Yes. This is from Dr. R.K. De Silva's book, Raj Gopal. Some of you might know him. He collected paintings and published books. Yes. Yeah, this is interesting. I saw this in the Katalu Purvarame, and I asked the Lokuhanduru for the story, and he told me the whole story around it. Actually, the art form is similar to Southeast Asian. That's interesting. But yeah, this has been mislabeled. Sometimes Kafrina musicians, sometimes Baila musicians. So you can see the confusion between the genres of Kafrina and Baila. That was my biggest challenge, to separate Kafrina from Baila. Next, please. Yeah, this also is interesting because this is the early 20th century when Norbert Rodrigo arranged the Kafrina dances. And I think even the 4 couples you see to a left has some significance. There are 4 couples. And you can see a pianist and a singer and the orchestra string instruments. So that's interesting. And a bit of the score you'll see here, which I play. And yes, you can see the bass is 6/8. He's written it in 6/8, 6 quavers to a bar, but the bass is almost like a waltz bass, like the 2 quavers in the middle are held. So it's like 3 crotchets. So it's almost like 3/4 against the 6/8 in the right. So cross rhythms, syncopations, accenting the beats where European music doesn't normally accent. These are things that spark off Caprina music. Next, you're going to hear me playing a bit of it.
Okay, Shihan?
Yes. So this is the second part where I'm going to explain the power of Baila. Baila is our heritage. It's our intangible cultural heritage. And if it's tangible cultural heritage, Loa, Mahapaya, all these broken down pillars, people appreciate it. But when it comes to the intangible, people have less appreciation. So, but it's passed down generation, by generation, intergenerationally. And it's a post-independent identity in music. So from about the late 20th century, people like John Silva have been looking for an identity in music, searching for an identity. And so in this confusion, Wally comes and he's able to draw us together the way I see it. We can't change, and we can only move forward being what we are. And he mixes and matches, and most importantly, he includes everybody by singing in 5 languages and being a policeman who wants to serve people. His characteristics are what I see. When I look at his life, I can see his objectives in the songs that he composed, not leaving anybody aside. So the Baila includes everybody. It cuts across ethno-linguistic barriers and age barriers. You only have to look at a dance floor in a dinner dance, how all the Sri Lankans get together and become, uniformly dance to Baila and identify with Baila.
Now, for a series of Baila, Shihan will introduce each one. You can see what we are going to play. One first is the famous Hai Hui Babiachi, but this is going to be in Tamil, sung by Manoharan. Then the Repaz band, I think this is a very, very important one because that shows the Western origins, the march rhythm of Baila, if you like, Shihan on piano. Then Kusia Masera, which is sung by myself and Shanta Pursekara, and a bit of dancing from myself and Shihan. And then a beautiful video which appears on YouTube, you can look at it yourself, with Sunil Pera and the Gypsies, called Buongiorno Senore. Again, remind you that you can adjust the volume to your needs, make sure that you are muted. And I will now play the first one. Do you want to say anything about it first, Shihan?
Only that A. Manoharan is singing. And yes, I remember he used to sing in about 6 languages. When I saw him, it was in an open air theater. Yes, yeah. So we can just play it.
Okay, here we go.
மீனாட்சியின் எலிகள் பட்டாளம் இங்குமங்கும் ஓடி ஓடி ஒரே கும்மாளம் வானறந்து போனாலும் பம்புகளில் தாராளம் 4 காலில் பாய்ந்து செய்யும் குறும்பு ஏராளம் அடுத்தவர்க்கு தெரியாமல் அடுக்களை ஏறும் அரிசி முதல் பருப்பு வரை பேசுமே பார்க்கும் எட்டியாட்சி ஓடி வந்தால் எகிரியே ஓடும் இழித்து பல்லை காட்டி ஏளனம் செய்யும் மீனாட்சி புறப்பட்டாள் அழகு ராணி போட்டி இளமை இன்னும் போகவில்லை ஆட்சிபடு நாட்டி பொய்ப்பல்லு இல்லை ஐயோ அழுது விட்டாள் பாட்டி எலிகள் கொண்டு போனதம்மா பல்லிழித்து காட்டி ஆய் மீனாட்சியின் எலிகள் பட்டாளம் இங்குமங்கும் ஓடி ஓடி ஒரே கும்மாளம் வானருந்து போனாலும் பம்புகளில் தாராளம் 4 காலில் பாய்ந்து செய்யும் குறும்பு ஏராளம்
Now I shall play the one where Shihan actually is a pianist and composer Charles Sweeney. Anything else to say, Shihan?
That's fine.
Okay, here we go. only other thing I might say in relation to that is that you can see how the rhythm is. Hi, hoi, babi, achige, bicycle, leka, you know how the rhythm goes. What I was going to say is something that Ruan might discuss at the end, that Ruan actually, when he went to America, he visited the Rapace band, told them about our society, and actually gave them a little plaque as a gift from our society to them in recognition of the fact that how we are connected through Baila. So Ruan might like to talk about it now. Well, the next one is Kusia Masera, sung by, well, various people, Shant and myself, but the dancing is by Shihan and myself. So here we go. Anything to add, Shihan?
No.
Okay, here we go.
Kusia Masera was in love with one Pereira. I saw them kissing through the kitchen door. Oh, my friend Pereira, he bit the nose of Sarah. Sarah kicked Pereira on the jaw.
Kusia Masera and her lover Pereira, I saw them walking down the lover's lane. There was one Rivera, an old pal of Sarah, trying to win that whole love again. Ani Magdalena, Matagangkayana Ona, Masipadigan Magdalena Po. Ani Magdalena, Matagangkayana Ona, Masipadigan Magdalena Po. I don't love Pereira, I love you Rivera once again. So sad Sarah, kick my friend Pereira, there was a trouble down the lover's lane.
Ane mage Sarah, Pereira mata banna, Rivera Sarahට කිව්වා. Sarah ජුවල් ගිහිල්ලා කොස්ස අතට ගත්තා. Pereira බය වෙලා දිව්වා.
Ani Magdalena, Matagangkayana Ona, Masipadigan Magdalena Po. Ani Magdalena, Matagangkayana Ona, Masipadigan Magdalena Po. Sarah Mahengee, Pereira Dukrinda, Umerin Sarah Kimetri. Pereira Gunahanda, Rivera Matabenda, honeymoon Nanawa Karati.
Well, Kusia Masera and her lover Rivera, honeymoon yai barabage. Eka dakka Pera, acid patra bila. Meruna eka pena galvale.
Ani Magdalena, Matagangkayana Ona, Masipadigan Magdalena Po. Ani Magdalena, Matagangkayana Ona, Masipadigan Magdalena Po. Masipadigan Magdalena Po. Masipadigan Magdalena Po.
So this is an appeal, is it, Shihan? For the Masipadia?
Yes.
Okay. And now on to the gypsies.
Okay.
Santa Lucia, Santa Buongiorno signore.
Buonasera signora.
Buonanotte signorina. Come stai tu?
Come stai tu?
Buongiorno signore, buonasera signora,
Buonanotte signorina.
come stai tu?
Io bene,
Come stai tu?
io bene,
ගෙදරවතු පිටි සේරම සින්දක් කරතියා උගස් කරලා සල්ලි දීලා ඉතාලියට ගියා
බැරියකාව පාගන එක ප්‍රතිපත්තිය කියා Sri Lankan ගැන කියන්න වචන මදිනෙලියා Buongiorno signore, buonasera signora,
Buonanotte signorina.
come stai tu?
io bene,
Come stai tu?
io bene.
ඉතාලි බස බැරුව මල්ලි රස්සාවල් නැතේ 6 මාසය ගත වෙනකොට සතයක් නැහැ අතේ බස හුරු වෙනකොට දැන් වෙන අමුතු කතා ඇතේ කොලේ නැතුව රැකියාවල් දෙන්නේ නෑලු පුතේ
documento no lavoro.
සමහර අය හට සිංහල අමතක වෙලා වගේ අඹුදරුවන් හිටියට දැන් තනිකඩයෙක් වගේ මේ තනිකම විඳ ගන්නට හිත කම්මැලි වගේ තහනම් පලකනකොට දැන් තනිකම හොඳ වගේ Buongiorno signore, buonasera signora,
Buonanotte signorina.
come stai tu?
Io bene,
Come stai tu?
io bene.
සල්ලි හොයන් තමන්ගේ දරු පවුල රකින්න පුංචි ගෙයක් හදන් එතුල සතුටින් ඉන්න ගමේ ගිහින් එපා ඔළුව ලොකු කරගන්න මධ්‍යම ප්‍රතිපදාව තුල ජීවත් වන්න
Basta, basta con le donne!
Guardiano, giardiniere, casa polizia අවුරුදු 18ක් ඇදලා ලංකාවට ගියා ගෙදර හිටපු සේරමල්ලා ඉතාලියට එයා ගෙනත් දැම්ම ඒගොල්ලොත් casa polizia
Casa polizia,
Buongiorno signore, buonasera signora,
Buonanotte signorina.
come stai tu?
io bene,
Come stai tu?
io bene,
Come stai tu?
io bene. Come stai tu?
Io bene.
We are now on to part 3, and the idea is for me to play some music, and I hope that all of you will be able to join singing, and if you want you can dance and clap. Sadly, you will have to mute yourself, so the sound will be heard only by you, but at least we like to see you. So could you please make your videos open so that we can all enjoy seeing each other and dancing each other. Okay, the section we are going to play, these are the songs. Tara is the Tara, Obertatti Bena Adre Mama Kira Dennam, Walter Fernando, then Candy Lamissi, Putukisi Apata Kira Dunatale, Ran Potter, Irene Jocelyn Catherine. I'd like to acknowledge that some of these clips are from YouTube. The first one, I think Shihan is going to say some words of introduction.
Okay, so this is M S Fernando's well-known song, Mala Giravi, which the Batikulo Burghers sing as Tera is the Tera, land, our land, and they sing of the beauty of Batikulo and its lusciousness. And today it's going to be sung by Johan de Silva, and it's a Surya recording.
Tera isti tera, nossa Batikulo tera, Lisiana sam todos kodave. Oya isti tera, temno saglandasya, pesi da canta isti tera. Campram compesi dum lovare, cani cange giunta di lena, al fiocco canaginci duvisi, dulli dulli dam nossa tera. Tera isti tera, nossa Batikulo tera, Lisiana sam todos kodave. Oya isti tera, temno saglandasya, pesi da canta isti tera. Viole gita cum ravana, polghe di temno sadera. Lanzi scaperigna nossa baila, contenti dal suo tera. Tera isti tera, nossa Batikulo tera, Lisiana sam todos kodave. Oya isti tera, temno saglandasya, pesi da canta isti tera.
So the next song is sung by M S Fernando's brother, Walter Fernando. When I was started my research, M S Fernando was not alive. So I asked Walter Fernando to come to my house in Sri Lanka. And he came, actually, it was Stanley Oma who plays the violin, who got Walter Fernando and the other musicians. You'll see Ajit Fernando on the guitar and Duminder on the drums. So this, you're going to see professional musicians basically in a very intimate setting. For my research, they're going to sing. And Walter usually sang M S Fernando's songs, but this is Walter's own song. And the song is rhythmically very interesting because it starts slowly and then has a fast section, and then it comes back to slow. It's in different rhythms.
The video footage is not brilliant because it's home one, so bear with us, but at least it's a rare one to see Walter Fernando singing. Shall I go on to the next one straight away?
You are my one and only one, and you're my ever loving one. I am your one and only candy, let me say. And I'm gonna want my yoga, you're suitable, I am your one and only candy, let me say.
Sweet Marie, come to me. You're my one and only candy, let me say.
I am your one and only candy, let me see. You're my killer, and I'm your last and a killer. I am your one and only candy, let me see.
Sweet Marie, come to me. You're my one and only candy, let me see.
Don't say I've got 10 acres of land. I am your one and only candy, let me see. Baila gita gayala, inna tike indimuko apisavu ma pritiye. Portuguese apata kiyala dunna. banjo guitar gahala baila geet gayala inna dike illimuko api savama preetiyen
Okay, Shihan.
So this last song we're going to play is also apparently Wally's last composition. And you'll see four Tamil girls dancing when they came to London for the World Trade Month, advertising Sri Lankan goods, advertising Sri Lankan culture as well. So Irene, Jocelyn, Catherine, Angeline, four girls. So Wally is saying, above everything, I love my viole, meaning viole means guitar. And that's, I want to meet my guitar in heaven after I die. So enjoy the dancing and the music. Saman Silva is singing the song here.
Irene, Josephine, Rosaline, Angeline, Atharin, Patharin, Nataide, Catherine, piano, banjo, tamarind, mandolin, violin, Govino, Nassana, violin, viole, Masana, viole, Obamade, Ateme, Bele, Obe, Midi, Nadatani, Dale, Nalale. Ranto dile, viole, obavane manghargiye, Sangita sastre kumariye, vinode obane suraliyange, viole, viole mage, viole, viole mage. Irene, Josephine, Rosaline, Angeline, Atharin, Patharin, Nataide, Catherine, piano, banjo, tamarind, mandolin, violin, Govino, Nassana, violin, Kenna, Nadeta, Suraliyan, Natuane, Kuttila, Pandita, Vatakaran, Niridun, Kishora, Dunta, Pandidanan, Awane obe tarangeta durasitan, Niri kita nadaliyange, Asila situraduna kumaradanange, Nade malu natanarge. Irene, Josephine, Rosalind, Angeline, Catherine, Catherine, Natalia, Catherine, piano, banjo, tambourine, mandolin, violin, violin, moving on and the violin. Baladiyo band aadare, ekale sita sijen magenu mehare, site ativana dukaradare, me obage katale katama kahare, mage abasana muht velabe, nade kumata badana labe, hamemu abiden nasuarge. Viole, viole mage, viole, viole mage.
That's the end.
Well, that's it. I hope you enjoyed it. And we are now going to open for questions. And we'll form the usual form. You can put your hand up, or you can show, raise the hand using the reaction button below. Can I have the first person to ask a question, please?
I think Anton Ambrose raised his hand.
Anton, you want a question?
How did the word bajao come in? I'm familiar with the word bajao. What's the origin of that?
I can't identify as it being Portuguese. So it could be some other, could be Malay, I don't know.
You know, Anton, I never thought about it. Bajao, yes, quite right.
Okay.
Anybody knows about bajao? No. Right, Anton, your homework today to research and tell us what bajao means.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, can I ask you a question, Shihan? The Kafrinya, is it always a couple, or I know that you can have formation dances, can't you? Men on one side, women on one side, then join together like they do in Western dances. Is that right? You can have formation dances.
Yes, I mean, that's a very interesting question, because today the Portuguese burghers in Baticalo dance a four-couple dance. That's why I said Norbert Rodrigo's cover of his Ceylonese dances is very important, where he puts four couples, because he's ended up in Baticalo as a four-couple dance, like a quadrille. And to the Portuguese burghers, whatever the Catholic priest comes and performs, the religious ceremony is not the completion of their marriage ceremonies, but dance in the Cafrina is. So you can see how traditions have gone and become ethnicized, if you like. So they think that it is their tradition. They think it's a Portuguese tradition. But my aunts and uncles, who are urban people, you know, southern people, coastal people, they dance the Cafrina as a couple dance. Not necessarily like any of those in the diagrams of the 19th century, but it was still an open couple dance. And some of those steps, some of the people are representing on the Baila floors today. So Cafrina, my biggest problem was to separate Cafrina from Baila, chorus Baila, musically. But if you think of Wally's life, where he was the leading Cafrina singer, leading Mother Baila singer, so he was known as the one by various epithets, and one was the person who brought Cafrina to the fore. He was known by other things like the exotic Ceylonese performer, and Sir John Kathalawala realized his worth as Prime Minister at the time and asked the police to release him from the night duty to go and perform in these nightclubs. So, so yes, Cafrina is, there are various types. You saw in the barracks, they were dancing Cafrina, totally different. Wasn't couples, no women at all. So there are various Cafrinas historically. I don't know what Cafrina was danced in 1658 when the Portuguese left. There is no picture or any writings about it. So whether it was like a European fandango that was danced in the Portuguese Lisbon area, where the Portuguese came from, could have been. But then Africans, the Portuguese picked up Africans on the way. They had Africans in Portugal who got into their ships, but they also picked up more Africans when round in the Cape of Good Hope because they couldn't go further. 1/3 of the crew had died. They couldn't sail further without having further manpower. So from the East Coast, they took Africans, and whether it's an Africanized fandango, we don't know, a European dance, but an Africanized version with Africanized movements, with body bent forward and all that. So there are several types, but it's also interesting that Caffrina doesn't belong to any ethnic group, like many things in Sri Lanka. So people like to define their culture with a certain type of music or their dance, but it's not so much in compartments. You see what I mean? There's more interchange between those cultures and among those peoples. There's more mixing.
Thank you very much. I think we had 3 people questioning. I think Sriya was first, Kalupana. Second was Aswa, and third, Prasanna Kure. So can we have Sriya first, please? Sriya, can you unmute yourself?
Yeah, okay. Just a couple of things. You know, in your very first bit, that song with the Du Putune song.
Yes.
Yeah, I think there was an error, Shihan, because there was a word about the teachers, respecting teachers. It said Garu Goman. I think it must be Garu Buhuman. The singular word, Garu Goman doesn't mean anything.
Okay, I'll have a look at it.
Just have a look at it.
Yes.
Because it sounds like, I think it sounds like that. It might sound like Garu Goman, but I think it must be Garu Buhuman. That's one. The second one is, I think in Portuguese, baila means dance, isn't it?
Well, in Italian and Spanish as well, bailar means...
That's right, baila means dance. Yeah, because, so it looks like this music was meant for dance. And
languages, the words of meanings change over time. So bailar to the Portuguese means to dance in a ballroom situation. They would say dançar, dance. So they have another word for dance. They wouldn't say ball. So So originally it could have been like folk dancing. You know, you sing a poem and then people dance to it.
Yeah.
Because the 3 art forms are very mixed. Yes, they get mixed up.
Yeah.
In Sri Lanka, most people would immediately say baila is a dance. It's whereas there's a deep meaning. There's this song Asanu Lamaine Magedu Putune Madena Basmedine.
Yeah.
That really puts, and then if you look at his other songs, Matakaya Me Obidaru Nalavilla, then other one about Pia, one about the Pia Atmudun Tia Vandinemi Gune.
Yes, that's right. It's bringing our culture.
Yes, evoking Sri Lankan values. Telling the nation, to bring back those values. And with the Dasamahayodev, their heroic deeds that they did in the past. Where are your heroic deeds? You've been dominated for 450 years. You've been, So come out now. Yes.
That's right. It's not just fun. It's very deep meanings.
Yes, because he's saying you're like blossoms in the flower garden of Sri Lanka. Bloom.
That's right.
Flowers in this garden. Yes. Contribute.
That's right. Yeah. And the third one I was going to ask is, there was a community in Sri Lanka, I think in the northwest, called Kafirs. I mean, have they gotten the relationship to this? Are they still in existence? I don't know.
Yeah, they're more, and I've known them for more than 20 years. So the people I went into was in this village called Sirambiadia, and that's where, when I was looking for Sri Lanka Portuguese Creole speakers, what was in the East Coast, particularly Trincomalee and Ampara, other lot are here in Putlam. But since these Africans have got prominence, more and more people are identifying as Africans. So there are in Trincomalee, when I went to Trincomalee in 2009, just after the war ended, they were scared. I interviewed 2 people in their 80s, and they spoke Tamil, and they said that they were just local people. They were Catholics. They were scared. But later, when an American researcher went, they said they were African, because that American researcher has also, he's an Afro-descendant, though he look African. Yeah, so people's identity change, you know, I could say I'm Malay and I could say I'm Sinhala, you know, so you go with the majority, you know, that's what they were doing. They were scared, I mean, during the war.
Yes.
Scared if there were anything else.
Yeah.
There are in Nigambo and there are in down south as well, because during World War, about 1914, Sri Lanka was a training grounds for the Burma front attack. So from East Africa, they brought a lot of Kenyans.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, so they were there and Peradeniya and places. They didn't bring any women, and the Sri Lankan government was asked to provide women for them. So there will be children from them. They would be about, 75 years old by now. I know one German is researching and she wants to go and interview those children. So yes, there are different waves of basically Africans coming. So that was a man-only wave. And then the British brought them in the early 19th century. The first two governors, Frederick North and the second Maitland brought. But the Portuguese brought them as well.
Thank you.
The Dutch brought a very few amount of Africans because they quickly turned their resources to Southeast Asia and South Asia. They brought slaves from Asia, India, and from places like Java because it was cheaper to bring them.
Yeah.
Thank you, Shreya. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shihan. It's very fascinating. Yeah.
Thank you. And next is Aswa. Can you unmute yourself, please?
Yeah, this is more to make a comment about my own having seen Wally Bastianz perform live. This was many years ago when I was a kid. He came to one of our neighbors' houses that was a private invitation to perform. And then we were a few houses from this party house. And I watched him as a kid perform. And he's a man who was very duty-minded. And as a policeman, he would perform in his police uniform. And I've seen the man in shorts, in his brown khaki top and his khaki shorts, and in the police boots. And he'll stamp his feet and sing all his songs. And the ones that, if I remember, I don't know whether Nondi Simaya was one of his songs, but all those classic stuff that you talk about in the songs that you showed, and what a performance. And of course, he will sing with a drink. He'd always have a drink in his hand. And the guy would sing. And I think he sang for about 4 or 5 hours. I mean, he went on. The guy just let go. And he was not looking at any of the words or anything like that. He just knew them. He knew all his songs. And he just performed. And I was just wondering whether Nondi Simaya was one of his songs. If you would know that. If you'd Nondi Simaya, Uge Puta Babaya, Mede Nagame Palhoru. I don't know whether that was one of his songs, if I remember. I just wanted to make that comment. Yeah.
Thank you, Aswa. I mean, you are obviously taken after him, seeing you dance and sing. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a comment. By the way, I wasn't so sure whether you meant viola or meant the guitar. I think viola means the violin. I just wanted to observe that, just to say that. Yeah, I don't know whether that was meant as a kind of a. You said that it was the viola was a violin, was a guitar. Can you kind of clarify that?
Yeah, in Portuguese, viola means guitar. We say rauquinha, rabeca, rabequinha. So that is the violin. Rabec, you know the rabec.
Right.
Yeah, rabequinha is a little violin. Yeah.
I see. Okay.
And they have the mandolin, of course, which we call bandeirinha.
So viola doesn't originate from the word violin, does it not?
Viola means, in Portuguese, it means guitar.
Oh, really? Okay.
But then there's viola. There are lots of stringed instruments, you know.
Oh, are there? All right. Okay. I just wanted to ask about that. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next is Prasanna. Prasanna?
Yeah.
Followed by Shanta. Prasanna first, yeah.
Yeah. Just a thought that crossed my mind. I thought, good to share with you. That is, the non-Sinhalese involved in culture making, modern culture making in Sri Lanka. So here, Wally Bastianz being a non-Sinhalese, I think another key figure in this process, like, you know, say for example, Mohideen Beg, or Muthusamy, or Roxamy, or Harun Lantra. So there are, you know, a lot of non-Sinhalese who belong to that era, who contributed towards our modern day culture building. So I think, you know, this again another point that we should share with our people in Sri Lanka, because we see, you know, our society is, you know, polarizing and pseudo-patriotism creeping into this. So this is listening to the story. This is something that crossed my mind. Yeah, what I thought to share with you. Thanks.
Yes, thank you. And even Stanley Oma was a great musician. You heard his violin, and he actually made H.R. Jyotipala. I don't know how many others he made, but
Okay.
yes, I'm writing about Sri Lankans and a bit about the Malays, and I want to publish a picture of him. Because we know the great Malays, you know, like one or two, T.B. Jaya, we know. And then we know the medical doctor. Do you know the medical doctor's name? Kartini Muhammad's father. Kartini's father. Does anybody remember?
Drahaman?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Prasanna. And now Shanta.
Thank you, Shihan, for another interesting presentation. I just want to know whether, are there any Tamil Baila songs? Tamil ones?
Yes, there are. Yes, there are Tamil Baila songs. Yeah.
Not translations, but original.
No, original ones.
Original ones there must be, because Wally sang in 5 languages, and I got a list ready. Marshall Wombeck was going to record them, and Mr. Kothalawala didn't somehow get around to sponsoring that. And Marshall, meanwhile, had cancer and he died. So with him went a lot of the knowledge. Marshall Wombeck, Anton Johns, he also died. Those were the original Wally Bastianz group people whom I interviewed. But there was Alien Soisa was dead as well by the time I started. And I think Maurice Fernando, I think, was the other person. There were 5 groups of people who sang with Wally, and Wally would put them on the stage to relieve him. So Anton Johns and Marshall Wombeck were other singers that he put on the stage when he wanted a break.
Thank you.
Does anybody know of any original Tamil, but not translations of Hai Hui, but original Tamil verses Baila? Does anybody know? No.
But what about Chinnamamiye? But no, that is Singali, a Tamil song, yeah, in a sense. Chinnamamiye and Chinnamahalange. Pariti Vandalo, no, I think, I don't know whether the tune is, where the origins of the tune is, whether it's a Sinhala Baila, but that's one of the Baila songs.
Right. Thank you as well. Shant, you finish? Lakshmi?
Yes, thank you very much, Shihan.
Bora wants to talk after Lakshmi. Okay, Lakshmi.
Yeah, thank you very much, Shihan, for the interesting presentation. And we enjoyed the playing, dancing, and of course, Mahendra's as well, and Danta. So I want to ask whether the word Tuppahi is connected to some Baila. Is the word Tuppahi culture or Tuppahi, where does it come from?
That's very interesting. The origin is actually Sanskrit, Dvibash, one who speaks 2 languages, bilingual. So the Portuguese were highly sought after as speakers of Portuguese and Sinhala, say, or Portuguese and Tamils. So they were the interpreters. But yes, it's misused now to insult people. Also, they say Tuppahi. Yeah. So, but otherwise, it's a compliment to be a Tuppahi.
Yeah. I mean, commonly the Tuppahi means like degraded, sort of Tuppahi culture, like, you know, when you say that, oh, that is, yeah, isn't it?
Yes.
Generally, the people think it is something unacceptable or lower
Insulting.
than.
Insulting, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Because people, nation states, when independent, they want to look for purity. So one language, one religion. But so they want to get away from mixtures. So that's why I didn't use the word hybrid. Or, you can't call the Portuguese burghers Creoles, but internationally they would be called Creoles. They call themselves Portuguese,
But Lakshmi is right. I mean, whenever I heard the word tuppa, it's inside. I can't have tuppa.
It's like
That's the usual with it.
like a swear word or something
Yeah,
like
like
that.
a swear word, yeah. Shanta, you have another comment? No?
What is the Sanskrit word Shihan you said?
Dvibash, two languages.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
And I want to add, name Sajjad Hussain is also another contributor, I think Pakistani origin, I think, for Sri Lankan music. This great Rukmini Devi song, Adarai Karunavai, is by that melody, haunting melody is by Sajjad Hussain, Daiva Yoga. So there have been lots of non-Sinhalese contributors, so you can add that also. Thank you. So thank you very much.
Ruan, do you want to say anything about your Repas band experience when you went and saw them and heard them?
Yeah, Shihan, thank you so much for that lovely presentation. I think your last presentation on the same subject, we did it face-to-face in our home, I think. Some of you were present physically for that one. So, yes, in 2010, I went to Pennsylvania, and there was this small town called Williamsport, and that's where the Repas band is performing, and they're still performing even today. So at this point, may I, I'll tell you, that's entirely another presentation or another story, but they didn't know until I went, they didn't know about the connection between the Sri Lankan song and the Repas band theme music. So I did a presentation to them and then presented a plaque on behalf of the Sri Lankan Literary Society. So if any one of you go to Williamsport and watch the Repas band performing, they do perform in summer usually. If you go to their Williamsport Hall, you will see the plaque which we have presented. I should be able to show it to you. Mahendra, I can share, can't I?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah. So,
go ahead.
Okay. Let me just share this. So that's, can you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's, so when I went there, it was published in their newspaper that the Repas band march has been internationally popular. And that's the plaque which we have presented to them. And the plaque says, this plaque was presented by the Northwest Sri Lankan Literary Club. Those days we call ourselves the club, which made into society later on in UK, to the Repas band in gratitude of their services to Sri Lankan music. And it will be still there to be seen. And that's me presenting the plaque to the Repas band 11 years ago, that is. Let me unshare now and...
Thank you.
Right. So a question as well to Shihan. You see, now in my mind, what we originally called Baila was all the tunes coming from Portuguese or the Cafe Portuguese origin, isn't it? But Wally Bastianz songs were nothing to do with any of those original Portuguese melodies, but he got almost every melody from Western songs. So, for example, the song you were singing just now, what was it? What was the first one? Was from Repas band. And then there were further songs, all of which were from Western songs. So should we not differentiate the Wally Bastianz era as Sri Lankan pop rather than using the same thing, which confuses everybody because people think Baila is or Portuguese origin, whereas Wally Bastianz songs are nothing to do with Portuguese. So what do you think of that?
Sumathipala Pereira has written a book. It's called Ekdas Namasiya Pahe Sita Adavennathuru Vansa Katava, the story of Baila. And he publishes about 18 melodies that are brought down, which M S Fernando in 1894 also puts some of them. So according to Sumathipala Pereira, those are the real Bailas. He told me those are the real Bailas. Whereas Walter Fernando has a different view. So there are various views basically about what Baila is. So Vada Baila brought down European melodic blocks, building blocks. And according to Baila Sadhya program, the musician says that he talked to ACD Silva. And he said that there are 53 kinds of melodies. And he even says 3 from the Africans. He says the Africans have, Afro-Sri Lankans have only 3. So what he says is that to those 18, Sri Lankans multiplied them by adding further melodic blocks, their own melodic blocks. So that's why you're saying Wally Bastianz songs are nothing like those. But some of them are like Kafrina. In between Bailas, what they call Bailas, they do play some of the Sumathipala book, Kafrina things. So those are European style melodic blocks. So yes, Sri Lankans have expanded. Baila has changed, not only at Wally Bastian's point, but since Wally, it has changed. M S Fernando changed it dramatically. I mean, in the way he enacts Baila. I haven't seen Wally, but somebody, Anwar, if he's still an Aswar, if he's still alive. Somebody told me Wally Bastian closes his eyes and sings.
I don't know about that, but it was all long years ago.
Yeah.
But he stamps his foot, that I know.
Okay.
Like a policeman. I mean, he would do that. I mean, when he wants to make a point, when he starts off the song, and when he wants to really get going, he will stamp his foot to sing that song with his boots. I mean, so it's almost like, a police kind of, because they stand to attention, don't they? That way he stamps his feet.
Okay.
To sing the song. And he plays the guitar, and a very fluent guitar player. He sings it with the guitar. I mean, he sings his songs. If I didn't mention that earlier, he did just play his guitar. He strums his guitar and sings his songs, and the drink. And I don't know about the glasses. But the other thing is he would also encourage people to sing with him if you know the song. I mean, all those years ago.
Yeah. Yes, I was told that he didn't
join in the singing.
Yeah, he didn't like Vada Baila competitions because people used to get heated supporting one person or the other. So he wanted everyone to live in peace. Samadhaneng Jeevatvenna. So therefore he came up with this chorus Baila, which is more harmonious with the audience because the chorus is easy. Nona Magenas Nona, to remember.
That's
they can join
correct.
In. Yeah, and the verse, then he goes on with the verse. And then there are different contexts, the narration. It's a storytelling, like a ballad. Yes.
Yeah. And Shihan, as you said, language is usage. What interests me is that if we say Baila, you could immediately think of a song or you could think of a dance, right? Macam Baila could be song, could be dance. If you say shall we sing a waltz? Shall we sing a foxtrot? Shall we sing a quick step? So Baila is never choreographed. For me, that's the essential thing. It's a freedom to move as you want, so long as you keep to the rhythm and the timing.
But I remember seeing M S Fernando in London. Yeah. It's amazing. I mean, he's enacting the Bailas. He's singing, moving across the stage with a walking.
Yeah. That's true. I have seen him perform as well in Sri Lanka, M S Fernando. I mean, again, as a schoolboy. That is in the SLLS in Kandy. I mean, he used to come every year, and I used to go for that every year as a kid. And he would sing, and always, MS also would sing one after the other. And one of the things that he'll do is dance on stage. And he was such a fluent dancer. I mean, his dance is beautiful. I mean, with the Baila kind of. And he, like this Michael Jackson, He could do that kind of, you know, the moonwalking kind of thing he used to do all those years ago. You know, like the feet together, like that kind of the walking back.
Yes.
And walking back with the mic, he will walk back and go back and then go forward and sing his song. I mean, he perform, and he was a fantastic performer. M S Fernando, I'm talking about, on stage.
Yeah.
As well, you haven't got any video clips or pictures of your associate with Bastianz, have you? No, those days.
I wish. As I was saying, I was only a kid. But
and Ruan, do you want to come back on anything that was said, Ruan?
Yeah. So I haven't finished what I was saying. Yeah. So basically, I'm sure Shihan knows about this book, done by Sunil Ariyaratne. I'm sure you have a copy of that. So in that book, he says that there are 18 tunes for Baila, original Baila, which you're mentioning, and the tunes are named according to that song. So, for example, I'm looking at this. The names are Kafrinya, Banda, Alankara, Koranjanita, Jocelyn, Chacha. So all these songs, the tunes are named according to probably one of the songs either in Sinhalese or in Portuguese. Now, Hey Siri, from my memories, from the same village as Prasanna and I was born, Lakshapatiya. So Hey Siri is one of those guys who were in the local Vada Mahila. In those days when we were young, we had this during Vesak time, there were Vada Baila stages. And the two things I can remember was one Vada Baila, the other one is the
Ulubakka.
Sorry, Ulubaku. Ulubaku is the other one, which has now unfortunately gone off the stage completely. But M S Fernando's career actually started in Vada Baila. He actually won a Vada Baila competition in Korolamalla, and thereafter he came to the notice of people, and then he changed from Vada Baila into proper Baila. So yes, Hey Siri, I watched that program as well. Hey Siri says that now there are about 50 odd tunes. But my question to you was about, look, those original 18 tunes were mostly Portuguese origin, but the later ones, and especially the ones started from Wally Bastianz onwards, are based on Western melodies, nothing to do with the Portuguese. So my personal preference is to call Baila or use that name for the Portuguese origin ones, and the Wally Bastianz onwards, those melodies really should be called as Sinhalese pop. That was my thinking after studying this about that. Think about it. I'm just making a suggestion.
Yes, it's difficult to separate folk music from popular music.
Yeah.
Tradition is easier, but folk tradition is based on the folk, but popular,
Yeah.
All I can say is that if people don't like it, the people throw it out. It's like politicians, if music people don't like, they throw it. So it changes. So like Bhatia and Santos have taken it to a different level, haven't they? I mean, make remix Kerala. It's totally different. It's, it changes through generations. And in fact, our Goan friends are quite envious that in Sri Lanka, we have this dynamic, vivacious form of music, whereas the Goan Catholic forms are kind of fading away, with the dust as people migrate away, because they have got anglicized after the Portuguese went, after independence. So their music hasn't changed, and therefore it's going to die off.
Ruan and Shihan, is this being debated in circles that you're familiar with, whether it should be called pop or Baila? Is that a controversy, or is it just emergent discussion, or going on for some time, or what?
I think people don't. Well, Sumatipala told me, Mama kiyannan Baila monawada kiyala. So according to him, what he has written is the real Baila, Of course, other singers like Walter Fernando doesn't agree with Sumatipala at all.
Yeah.
So,
okay, very interesting discussion. I think we should.
I think because Baila simply means song, also means dance. So it means various things, and people today don't think what it is. They just dance to it.
Okay. Prasanna, you had another point to make?
Yes, yeah, just one more point. When you mentioned the name of M S Fernando, so M S Fernando is known as Baila Chakravarti, isn't he?
Yes.
So I was just guessing, I mean, is it reasonable to call him Baila Chakravarti, or should it be Wally Bastianz, who is the Baila Chakravarti?
Wally was acknowledged with Rukmani Devi, Eddie Daman, and Sunil Santha in 1990s. Wally died in 1985 in the BMICH. He was given an award. So he was acknowledged as the originator, but Walter says that Ayya Thamai, he brought it to a different level. Basically, when MS got onto the stage, all the other musicians used to get down and go. That was the status of Baila. So it was not valued. You see what I mean? And MS made, I think because he enacted the Bailas, he brought it to a different level. And also he has a lot of variation in his Bailas. If you listen to MS's Bailas, like Kallathoni and Igauma and all those are totally different. Rosa, they're different.
Yeah,
right.
And
I think the issue is they have given various epithets like that. So Paul Fernando is called Baila Prince, right? Prince of Baila. M S Fernando is called Chakravarti, and nobody is given any such epithet to Wally Bastianz himself. But these are sort of, people making up names and stuff. But the volume of, or the number of bailas is much more with M S Fernando compared to Wally Bastianz.
Yeah. Okay. And again, Ruan, something that, we can share from our childhood. Now, Saman De Silva is, very much had taken on the trend. So our good friend with whom we used to play cricket in our small days.
It's just down the road for us, a few houses from yours.
Yes.
Yeah.
So as a boy, I remember even while playing cricket, he would be singing Baila.
And then we have Desmond Silva, who is called Baila, King of Baila, and several others are called King of Baila. But Desmond, I think, is a fantastic entertainer. So that's another aspect of Baila, that you could be entertaining people. Whereas Wally is being serious and giving advice, there's much more poetry. And of course, he composed. Somebody said he sang, I think Asfa said he composed them. So he knew what he was singing about, not like someone else writing the lyrics for you.
Lakshmi, you want to add something?
Yeah, I think I didn't hear the name Nihal Nelson.
Yes.
He has contributed a lot in Baila, and he was given many awards. The famous Baila Salli Mitiganan. I think you should. Nihal Nelson.
Yes.
Yeah, so was Anton Jones.
Yes, Nihal Nelson's, his signature song is which one? Lassanata Pipana, Vanamal, Galpina.
Yeah.
Salli Mitiganan also is one of the, yeah. So Nihal Nelson has contributed a lot, and I think he died recently.
Yes.
So,
when I went 6 years ago, he performed in the Surya village, so he must have died very recently. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shihan, who sang Obege Ammage Natamoge Obege Bilindada over the Edenage Obe Asai Carter? You know the song, don't you? Who sings? Is that Wally Bastianz too? Or was it him?
I haven't heard of that one.
No? Obe Ammage Natamoge Bilindada Medenagen Obe Asai Carter. Obe Gani one taram loke sohaki evat amatamai ekenai borunati samahara taruna taruniyanta ravatila asarana maniyanta venaskam kala can one taram loke harima karadare ekamai ne apate ayadare. That's the one, yeah.
Yeah, I think it is by Anton Jones.
Anton Jones, all right, okay. Yeah, it's beautiful song.
Got to recheck, but I think it is by Anton Jones.
I mean, I'm no expert, but for me, there's a distinct Baila beat. And that's what we recognize as Baila. And whether you call it dance or music depends on the context. If you are going a bus, touring somewhere, 40 people in the bus clapping hands, say, let's sing a Baila Machan. You say, sing a Baila. You go to a dance, you know, SLMD annual dance, and suddenly, oh, now we are going to have Baila. That's dance. So I don't split hairs about this, but
the Baila is essentially in Sinhalese, isn't it? I mean, that's what I'm saying. The language of singing is Sinhalese.
Unfortunately, that's not what Wally intended, but that's what it has become. And to be globalized, when you had Sunil Pereira here in the Literary Society talking, I asked him, you know, what's the point of singing in a language that people don't understand? So I said, with your charisma, if you sang in some language like Spanish, you know, it would get more internationalized. He said, yes, you got a good point. Of course, he didn't live to do that. But it all depends on what the Sri Lankans Baila singers want to do. You know, if they want to sing in the, you know, local national language, then it's going to be internalized, not internationalized. It's not going to get globalized like, say, Calypso. You have to sing in something that people understand. They are lost otherwise, isn't it?
Okay, we can take 2 more questions before we wind up. Anybody who has not already asked a question or made an observation who want to say something? Anybody? Yeah. Anybody once? Anybody twice? Anybody 3 times? No. Okay. Well, it remains for me then to firstly thank Shihan for, as usual, a lovely presentation. It's nice to have somebody who knows the subject so well. I enjoyed the discussion with so many valuable contributions made by people towards making this presentation even more interesting and more valid. So can I ask all people to unmute yourselves now? Put your video on if you can, and just say thank you very much, Shihan, and give a clap. Okay.
Thank you, Shihan. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much. Okay.
Thank you, Shihan.
Thank you. I'm
Thank
going
you.
to now.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye. And proceed to ask you the questions.
You can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry, I'll repeat that question because that bit wasn't recorded. My question was, Shihan, how did you get interested in these cultural aspects of the Portuguese occupation, Sri Lanka, and Portuguese in general throughout the globe?
Yeah, so I've always